So, despite Captain America's 3-star difficulty listed on his character in Marvel Rivals, he is actually one of the easiest and most fun vanguards or tanks to play in the game. What's up, everyone? My name is Calvin, and just as the title says, this is a beginner guide for playing Captain America, showing you all the ins and outs, whether you're a beginner who's just getting into Marvel Rivals or you're someone who already plays the game and wants to expand their arsenal of characters. So, let's get right into it. And we will start by taking a quick look at his character profile. Like I said before, he is a 3-star difficult character, but to me, the difficulty really only comes with understanding when to use his moves because they're all pretty straightforward. And don't worry too much about button selection because I will cover a reference for PC, Xbox, and PlayStation. So, the first thing that I highly recommend doing is going into practice mode. In practice mode, you want to get a feel for how Captain America moves around. You want to press the sprint button. I believe on PC, you have to hold tab down or left shift. There is a way you can toggle it. Same thing with PlayStation and Xbox. The game might have done an update to where you only have to press it once and Captain America constantly sprints, but if not, you will have to hold it down. And if you remember how to change that setting, feel free to throw it down in the comments. That will be a massive help to me because I can't remember it for the life of me. Anyway, as you're sprinting, you want to do some jumps, run around, kind of dash a little bit as well. Like I said, just overall get a feel for how he moves around in the game because you will be sprinting and jumping around a lot. Once you're done running around and you feel like you got a good feel for his mobility, the next move we're going to go into is his Vibranium Energy Saw or his Shield Throw. So this move, it does travel 20 meters as I show here, and it feels so satisfying throwing this into a crowd of enemies. You really feel like Captain America, but it does travel 20 meters and 20 meters only. If you try to go further than that, it doesn't work. It also has a 7-second cooldown. So I will back up here and show you that it doesn't travel further than 20 meters because I know someone out there is going to try. I'll throw it again here, and it does not connect. Next up, we have the Liberty Dash. This move is a simple dash forward that actually damages the enemy if it makes contact. Most people use this as a means to escape the enemy team, including me, but it can be used in a number of different ways. As you may have already noticed there as well, this move travels about 12 meters and it also has a massive 12-second cooldown. So make sure you're using it sparingly. I mix it in between trying to escape and also engaging enemies, maybe even closing that gap if you're super close to a kill and there's just a little bit more damage left on the enemy and they're just kind of running away. But moving on, next up we got the Super Soldier Slam, or also called the Superhero Landing.
Superhero landing. She gonna do a superhero landing. Wait for it. Superhero landing.
Yeah, that's really hard on your knees.
Totally impractical. They all do it.
So as you can probably already tell by that little snippet there, I'm a pretty big fan of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Captain America just plays exactly how you would expect him to. Diving strike on top of the shield throw just feels so phenomenal in the game. And it's one of the main reasons why I chose to get good with Captain America because he is just such a fun character to play. You can do a little bit of everything. You're not focused on just one specific role. You're doing a little bit of everything. You're going after the tanks. You're going after the healers. You're knocking out people like Punisher, Hawkeye when they're kind of off by themselves. Captain America can kind of do it all and just get back to his teammates and help out just tremendously. And that brings us to our final move before I get into some gameplay with some commentary. And our final move is the Living Legend. And the Living Legend is just you holding up the shield, deflecting projectiles. This is one of my get out of trouble things. So I throw the shield up and I back up towards my healers. You'll kind of see me do that in some of my gameplay. But throw your shield up, walk backwards, your healer should heal you, and then you get right back into combat. You can also deflect projectiles. Sometimes they'll hit your enemies, sometimes they won't. Just kind of luck of the draw there. Your shield does have a 5-second cooldown, so keep that in mind. Once it's no longer regenerated, you will probably have to turn around and run, dash away, different things like that. Now let's get off into some gameplay. I have 3 videos here total to show you all. One thing that I did not cover yet was that Captain America also has a team up ability with Thor. You will see a Thor here in this first game as that team up ability activates. He basically gets more movement speed and he does more damage. He also gets a charge throw with his shield. Another thing that I did not cover because it's not really something you should focus on as a beginner, but the shield also bounces off of different enemies. It's kind of one of those things when it happens, it just happens. It's not really something you should focus on. You should basically get down the basics of using the character. So now is a good time to go ahead and throw me a thumbs up or a subscribe on this video if it's helped you out or if you even made it this far as we get into some gameplay and I kind of show you the rundown of using Captain America in game. So leading the charge here with Thor, you want to make sure you kind of stick with your other tank. You don't necessarily have to be buddy next to each other, but just kind of hang around the rest of your team. I do like to play a little bit aggressive as Captain America, so as you see me go in here, the first thing that I like to do is throw my shield and immediately turn around, as you see here. So what that does is it lets my team know that I'm going to be aggressive, but I'm also not over pursuing, because you definitely don't want to over pursue, because once you and your other tanks start dying, that's when you can put your team in a lot of trouble. But you do want to play a little bit aggressive, kind of keep the other team at bay, as you see me and Thor do here. But you do kind of get lucky a couple of times, as I do there as well. But you just kind of play the game by ear and kind of see what the other team is doing. I also like to scout out the other teams, so I kind of saw that they had a Mantis, they had a Spider-Man, they also had a Thor, so you kind of get an idea of what the other team is using, so you're gathering that information as you're going in there and then turning around. Another thing that I do want to point out here is it's not necessarily that my team's doing a bad thing, but you do want to maintain your objectives. So a lot of people, they like to over pursue, thinking the game is team deathmatch. It's okay because we won here, but you want to make sure you're hovering around that objective and you're collecting points before you go off and start pushing the other team too far into their own base. Oftentimes when you over pursue, especially in ranked, you kind of leave your team susceptible to getting flanked, especially your healers. So once your healers go down, it kind of puts your team, the rest of your team, in really big trouble, especially the tanks. But we do a pretty good job of maintaining everybody, knowing where everybody is at, and kind of KOing folks. But a really good team would just take a different direction, where they would just kind of focus on eliminating one of the tanks and going after the healers. They do have a Spider-Man and an Iron Fist, so I'm actually surprised that they didn't do that, but maybe they weren't thinking me and the Thor were just applying too much pressure and they didn't think to just kind of eliminate the healers. But like I say, a really good team, or just someone that has really good communication, they could easily take advantage of us over pursuing like we are. I know I was just kind of yapping there as I narrowly escaped his death, but sometimes you just got to get lucky at the game. You just end up not dying. Your team plays really well. You get just enough health to stay alive, and the team is just mostly melee and they can't KO you, which I'm surprised I didn't get hit by any Captain America throws, or like Thor ends up tracking me down and KOing me, or even Spider-Man, because I know I had quite a bit of trouble with Spider-Man in here as he uses his ultimate. Another thing that I didn't touch on is Captain America's ult. As you see this trail behind me of red, white, and blue, he does get an extra speed boost. Anybody that touches that for his team also gets a little bit of a boost as well, but he is able to shield himself with his ult. So that is another means of staying alive in case you get super low on health. Moving on to game number 2 here, this one should be a little less chaotic. I really like that I have a Doctor Strange on my team. We still have Mantis. There's an Iron Man as well, so he should take a little bit of attention off of me. But like I said, as the tank, you're taking charge, you're leading the pack, so the rest of your team, unless there's another tank, should not be in front of you. If they do, they're probably over pursuing, but you're running in, you're getting information. I see that there's a Moon Knight, I see that there's a Star-Lord. I believe they also have a Hawkeye in the back. There's a Groot wall that shows up that I immediately throw my shield over. So as you're going in, you throw your shield and you immediately turn around. So like I said, you're letting your team know that you're playing aggressive, but you're not over pursuing. So I'm helping Doctor Strange with this Groot here. We're getting some punches in. I go after that Moon Knight, KO the Moon Knight, and then you find out what the rest of the team is. So you see that there's a Cloak and Dagger, and you see that there's a Venom. So I turn around, I let my team know that I'm coming back. I go back in there, and I actually start to do some damage. Whenever my health starts to get to about 400, that's when I start to make the decision on if I want to keep pursuing or if I want to turn around and get heals. Because depending on who's on the other team, sometimes it's a Hawkeye, sometimes it's a Punisher with a turret, or even a Black Widow. Any of them can start to either KO you or come really close to KOing you and put you in a really bad spot. So that's when I either start to look for heals, or I just turn around and get heals from my healers in the back. But you definitely don't want to over pursue depending on who's on the other team. So the team has now done a successful push as we collect the vehicle, or whatever the objective is at the time. So make sure you're doing that and not treating the game as team deathmatch. I'm going back in here. I see a Hawkeye up top that tries to sneak around, but definitely in my peripheral vision, so decided to go after him. Ended up KOing Hawkeye. I see that the opposing team also switched to a Jeff as I try to KO this Jeff, but I just normally try to weaken people too in case there's a chaotic fight, so the rest of my DPS can actually take over those kills. Because once I go down as a tank, it puts the rest of my team in a really bad spot to start getting KO'd. One cool thing about going back and watching my own gameplay is I noticed here that I didn't push enough with my shield. So if I threw my shield up and I pushed in and kind of figured out who to attack, I wouldn't have taken as much damage here and I would not have died. So that is a tip for you. Just kind of use your shield to push in, take some damage, and maybe do a diving strike on someone. So as I take this long walk back into the fight, let me know down in the comments what you think I should have done in that situation. I honestly think I should have waited for Doctor Strange there. Let Doctor Strange push a little bit and then clean up behind him, figure out who I should attack. But my team played really well here, so no one really died. As you see, no one died as I made this trip back. But a tank going down can often put your team in bad spots, so you don't want to push too crazily. But I do get my ult here, and I do decide to push again, going after that Star-Lord. But then immediately turning around because I'm realizing I'm over pursuing and don't want to overdo it. Also kind of want to see where the rest of my team is at. I think everybody over there was just kind of jumbled and missing their shots because, I mean, they were kind of letting us just push them back however we wanted. Even in this situation, Moon Knight shooting me, and then I go grab this health, turn around, and then Moon Knight just completely ignores me. Same thing with that Cloak and Dagger. So I think this was just our game. We were feeling ourselves and just ended up with a really favorable matchup. I circled around a couple of times looking for my team because I believe my team died a while back, so they were slowly starting to trickle back in. So they finally regrouped, group got KO'd, then we KO this Jeff. I jump around and kind of gather, see where my team is at and where the other opposing team is. We got Hela retreating. Don't want to push too hard because that is their spawn, so you don't want to go deep in their spawn. And we're almost at the finish. With 6 minutes left in the match, so we pretty much got this one, but definitely don't want to over pursue, but also still want to apply pressure so they don't get to the vehicle. Super surprised that Jeff lived here. Definitely should have been KO'd, but it is what it is. So I go back, regroup with my team, and I'm pretty sure we get the win at this point. On my third and final match here, this will actually sum up the video for me. I won't comment at all on this one, but I wanted to give you a quick introduction because I am teamed up with the Thor, so pay attention to that ability, and I will just let you all sit back and absorb.